We are live. Hello, everyone. Hey, Denny, how are ya?
Good, mate.
Lovely to have you on this Saturday night. It's
I
another
was
rainy
locked in
night
anyway. Stage 4 here, so I had nowhere to go. I'm not allowed to go anywhere.
Thanks, everyone who's tuned in. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching this later on, welcome as well. I've been pretty excited for this one. I've been watching Denny in the background in a non-creepy way for the last several months, I suppose, and yeah, I'm stoked to have you on and interested to hear about your life as the salvage artist, which I thought was
Yeah,
an apt description on your Insta.
I'm glad you
So,
understood what it meant.
yeah, we've got a couple in the chat already. We've got Brad, Diary of a Flipper. We've got two Aussie thrifters. Brad, I see you're wearing their shirt as well. Big shout out. Yeah, he's just picked it up. Big shout out to those guys as well with a huge 60-day total.
I know.
Hey, Ben, what's going on,
Those
man?
guys, Seamus.
The Jazz in two.
Jazzy in the house.
Yeah. We've got quite a bit to get through tonight. We could probably talk for way more than an hour. So I'll start off with the first question. Hopefully it's going to punch it in for me.
Right.
So, who is Denny Bay and how did you get started?
Well, I used to buy stuff on eBay in the early days, and I was back in Perth, and I was working at a hotel, and I was managing a bottle shop, and a guy I was working with was trying to fund his fourth year university student film. He was a film and TV pre-grad, and I thought he was knocking off the merch because we get in bottle shops, you get a lot of merch, and it was the era of the Boonie dolls, the talking cricket dolls that would pick up on the broadcast of your TV and randomly say stuff. And so he was taking those extra ones of those, and he was selling them, and they were selling for like stupid money at the time, like $150 a doll. And he funded his end of degree student film, his zombie movie.
I wish I'd done that myself.
With these dolls. And so I went home and I was like, is there really money to be made out of this? And so then I started talking to reps, and they started giving me extra, alcohol related merch, which, as I found out, actually sold a lot of footy stuff that would unrelated to like Carlton mid-strength footy stuff. And I started selling that. Just I was saving for a world trip, and I needed to make extra money, and that's what got me into it.
What about all your hunting, all your salvage work that you're doing
nowadays? So then, scroll forward, I suppose, 5 years from there, and I'm back in Melbourne, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to keep working in hospo, and I knew a guy that ran a rubbish truck, and I'd never sort of heard of rubbish removal, and I ended up working for him as a casual a few times, and I got a look at what he was doing, and it looked to me like he was getting paid to take away stuff that you could sell. And of course, in the background, I'm on eBay, selling anything I can get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And so his job just looked like a dream to me. I was like, are you seriously, you're getting paid to take away all of this stuff that I can sell? So it just seemed like the greatest job ever. And so I got in, so I bought a truck and started advertising, and scroll forward another 10 years, and I'm a dyed-in-the-wool rubbish remover / salvage artist.
We got a couple of comments here about the beards already. I was saying before we look a bit like doppelgangers.
Well, all West Australians look alike.
Brad's asking about your Apple product behind your shoulder there.
I'm glad you asked, Brad.
So we've got a sale in the making. I'm feeling it.
So I got this box on a job. There's nothing in it, sadly. It's just a box. but I was so impressed with it. It's an Apple IIc box. I don't know if you guys. So I actually was around for the Apple IIc. I was a little kid. I remember playing a swords and sorcery game on the Apple IIc. I think they're worth about $25,000 now if you've got one out there. Anyway, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I think Ken Skeets has got an Apple bag on the end of his one of his DVD shelves as well. If you have a look out for that. Yeah. But anyway, I got this box and Apple IIc. There you go. It's a monitor box.
That's cool.
Isn't it great? Yeah. So yeah, it's the sort of stupid thing that if you're a rubbish remover, you're sort of in danger of keeping stuff like this.
I don't know, man. I see that logo and I would have picked it up for sure as well. Anything like that, absolutely. All right, we've got 7 questions tonight. Question 2 is a general one, all things reselling. Have you signed up for managed payments, and if so, how is that going for you?
I have. I had a few issues verifying my bank details for some reason. They just kept rejecting my. I kept sending photos of my statements. They just kept rejecting them. But third time lucky, and I'm registered. So I'm a bit sad, a bit like Rod. I'm a bit sad about it because I like seeing my PayPal account. But I also accept that life is change, and so I generally think you've got to give these things a try. So I'm all about it. So let's see what happens.
How have you found your sales? Have you seen any increase or drop off or?
Well, I don't think I've gone live with that yet. So my shop is quiet at the moment. I've come off June and July were record-breaking months for me, both months, end on end. July, I think I broke my best ever month by 40%. That's how it was, crazy busy. Wow. But also I had a run of really extraordinary stock. I just kept finding amazing stuff. I just had a run, and that helps, of course. But now all of that stuff's gone, and I've just gone back to my bread and butter, and it's gone a little quiet.
Speaking of stock, Kara's asked if she can see some of your finds. You did mention before we jumped on that you'd found a couple of things. You want to show those now?
You want a little? Well, I was going to do a little haul from this that's sort of recent. So today on the truck, I actually got this vintage KD Lang t-shirt, and I look out for t-shirts now because of our selling group, because of people in our selling group, and I hope you guys can see that.
Yeah, I can see your Phoenix Suns jack in the background too.
Yeah, I put that there deliberately. Actually, I showed that to Brad a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they are on a roll at the moment.
That I needed to get Brad's review of that, but that was awesome, that job. There wasn't much there, and I opened this cupboard, and it was the parents who were downsizing. It was their now adult son. It was his childhood cupboard, and in that cupboard he had a crate of Lego, a crate of Masters of the Universe figures, and that jacket, and a pair of Doc Martens. And there was nothing else on this job. It was all furniture which we were going to destroy. And then we got to that little cupboard which had sat there since, I think, 1990. I was saying to Brad, I think, looking at the dates of the other toys he had and stuff, about 89, 90. I'm guessing that that's about 1990. And Brad actually knew the label Apex One.
Apex One, yeah.
So I actually might try that on Depop. I've never sold anything on Depop, but since everyone's been talking about it, I have sold some shoes on Grailed before. But yeah, awesome. You've got to diversify.
Let's just touching on that, like with your salvage work, do you have to go and find these jobs, or do they come to you? How does that?
No, we spend a lot on advertising. We compete quite hard on Google on AdWords. So we compete for keywords on Google, which is hit and miss, but we spend a lot of money on it each month. And I also, because I've been in the game for 10 years now, I have a lot of regulars, and I have a lot of word of mouth. And because we do a good job for people and we try and help them and we don't cheat people. We have a good reputation. We have a lot of customer reviews online. And so I get a lot of word of mouth traffic. Actually, in the quiet times, it's probably the word of mouth that keeps us afloat, honestly.
So is it more like you go to clean out a garage, or is it to clean out a whole house? How does it kind of work?
It's all of those things, man. It's so today I was cleaning up an end of lease, and the tenants, who I never met, by the way, it was all done over the phone. We've got a COVID safe plan. They left all of their stuff in the carport at the back of their apartment in Brunswick, and where that T-shirt and a couple of things, which I'll show you later, came from. That dinosaur up there, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do a lot of houses. They're my favourite things. That's what lured me into the game, the residential jobs, because that's where all the kind of stuff, if you're an eBayer, that's where all the good stuff is. But equally, we do in light industrial work. We do a lot of factory cleanups. We do a lot of offices. I've done a lot of National Australia banks. Hope they're not watching. Yeah, so I've done an art gallery in Docklands. I had a truck full of paintings once.
Wow. So you got a question there.
I can't read these, by the way. I have to put my glasses on if I'm.
That's all right. I got you. What is the creepiest thing you've ever found? He said a mate.
I'm glad you asked. Well, this is a good one. So I was on a job a couple of years back, and one of my boys said, Denny, what's this? And he had a little box, and it was a box of human remains. It was a box of ashes, and I'd never seen one in person before, but I knew what it was straight away. And so I rang the client and I said, mate, are you aware that because we were emptying the whole house, so everything in the house, was slated to go, so it was very easy to fulfill. But so I rung him and I said, mate, are you aware of these ashes here? And he goes, yeah, that's Derek. And I'm like, right. And is it, what do you want me to do with Derek? And he's like, well, can you put him in the truck? And I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the legality of that is. We've never, we've never tipped a person before.
Wow.
So what we did was we took Derek out the back and we buried him under a lemon tree.
All right, that is pretty weird.
That's the weirdest one. There's some more disgusting ones, which I could tell. We could probably do that another time. But that is definitely the strangest one that I can think of. There's always strange ones. There's something about disposing of people's stuff that puts you in weird situations.
I saw something else before. Oh yes, well, Katie Lang. Let's get back to your show and tell. I've like totally derailed where we're headed.
All right, I'll be quick. So today I got this RM Williams belt out of a garbage bag. I always think of Zach when I find stuff like this in garbage bags. Yes. Probably not a huge spinner, but there's some money there. I got a Australian wool jumper, which is a little bit vintage. I don't know if you can see the label there, but anyway, that's an easy item to sell. I also got this vintage travel bag.
That's cool.
Now, it's not obviously the airline bags go better. You guys have probably all had airline bags yourselves, particularly Ansett, but the early Qantas bags with the kangaroo logo and stuff go well. But this one, even though it's only King's Holiday, so it's like a travel agency bag, because of the kangaroo and the boomerang logo, that's a winner for sure.
What do you reckon you get for that?
Maybe $60. Take an offer, I'll take 40. All these items are for sale, by the way. I've always wanted to say that. And I got this. Should I wait for the chat?
No, that's right. Everyone's just talking about Derek. It's okay.
Poor old Derek. You got to hope. You got to hope Derek was a nice guy, because someone left him on the mantelpiece with the rubbish.
Cara doesn't think so.
I'm probably like one of those hardened TV guys that says the same thing every time he tells the anecdote, but Derek splashed across my boots that morning. I remember as we the hole wasn't deep enough that we dug, and as we sort of emptied Derek into the hole, he sort of splashed across my steel cap boots. I got this book. It's the Montessori system, which is an alternative education system, which is very popular in Victoria. I don't know how it goes elsewhere in Australia. And I looked it up, and it's a first edition, and it's a file copy. Hope you can see that. And it's a file copy of the publisher. So it's the one that they kept on hand to show as an example. And I saw a non-file first edition copy in the US sold for $138. So
I'd be chucking that up way high.
Yeah.
There you go. You're gonna have a sale already.
Should I put my reading glasses on?
Brad or Jazz are looking at their Katie Lang shirt. Jazz is eyeing it off, asking what you have on it, what price.
Oh, look, if it was Jazz asking, then the price just has to go down, doesn't it? So, she could definitely play mates rates on me there. So we can talk. I just about give it to those guys.
How are you doing with the COVID situation with regard to, I guess, both eBay and the salvage business?
So, psychologically, it's obviously been tough, and one's sort of reluctant to whinge about it because everyone you talk to is having a hard time. So obviously, it goes without saying that it's been tough, particularly being in Victoria, obviously.
Yeah.
I think being able to work has really made a big difference to my mental health. So it's definitely been quiet. Like we would be down by 40 or 50% at the moment.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it hurts. eBay, it came off 2 giant eBay months for our little shop, which really helps. But it's tough going. It's tough going, isn't it? I mean, we don't sort of have any.
You have like a down run with your salvage business. Do you have more time to put into eBay? Does it work like that?
Well, something that you and I talked about in the green room. I thought that would be the case, and I was a little bit woohoo. eBay festival. Thought I would do a Ken and Drew 19-hour listing marathon, but what ended up, I've got a toddler, and that's the reason why you've been watching me creepily on the perimeter of our group, because I just don't have time. I see you guys all going live and doing all your stuff, and I wish I could be a part of it, but we're not probably the most best organized parents ever. And we do our best for our daughter, but some nights she's going to bed at 8 o'clock at night for the final sleep, because that's just how we roll. We try, we try our best to look after her, and also she's very up tempo like her dad, and she doesn't want to go to sleep.
On how she's going.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's hard, and I liken it to being abducted by aliens, although that's never happened to me yet, touch wood. But you wake up and all the time's gone, and I'm finding it really tough. I'm finding that tougher than COVID, actually. I have a lot of ambitions and things that I would like to be doing, but in order to be a good parent, and I really love my daughter, and it just sort of supersedes everything else in my life, so everything else just goes on hold, I'm afraid. But oftentimes, particularly with Brad and Jazz's show, which is like one of my favorite shows, when I see that going, I'll often just have that playing under the table really quietly, because I get in trouble otherwise, and I'll just be like, typing under the table, like, so that I feel like I'm part of it still.
I wish I had so much time to do these more often and jump on, and join the chats for some of these things. But like the last last couple of months, she's sort of started to stand up and not walking yet, but getting pretty close. And I just have to keep an eye on her like literally every second of the day.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it gets worse. I mean, that initially when they're slugs, as my friend calls them, which is awful, but he just said, "Oh, you're in the slug phase," and that I think he meant that's where you just lie them down and they don't do anything but stay where you put them. But now, 100 fire.
Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. You guys are great parents. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a nice
I think that's my friend Tim.
Yeah, I've had to reorganize the way I've done things. Like I had this whole room, some of you guys have seen this before, was like literally floor to ceiling stacked full of boxes, like is what behind you. And I've moved all my stuff to a storage unit, which is not far from the house.
Yep.
And my new schedule is go to work, go to the storage unit, pack what I got to ship, and then try and list as many things as I can before I get home. And then once I walk through the door, it's straight up family time and no more interruptions other than accepting the odd offer or something like that.
Are you still setting weekly listing targets and stuff for yourself?
I'm trying, and I've actually almost completed what I had set out to do with automating some of my listings, mainly the clothes. So I get to do all the fun sourcing part now and find stuff to sell.
Yep.
I have a local lady here who takes the photos and does the measurements for me.
Awesome.
And just this last week, I've managed to outsource the drafting to someone in my family. So at the same time, benefiting them as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I've actually been able to list quite a bit this week without a lot of impact.
Yeah, man, you're the automation king.
To give you an example, I spent a couple of hours during the week at lunch just listing stuff on eBay, and I got about 40 something done just at work.
Did you really? You got 40 drafts done in your lunch break?
Not draft. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do now is find the item and give it to the lady, and then after that, it comes back in a box, nicely packed up. I send the listing sheet off to my family guy who takes, who does all the drafts, and then they sit there, and then all I got to do is load the draft, check the price, check the whole draft, I suppose, and then hit list. So yeah.
That's the way to do it if you're under time pressure.
I've got no time, so that's the only way I can think to try and still grow at the same time.
Yeah, I want to get a assistant at least part time. Been talking about it forever. I just put a bid in for a premises around the corner that's a shop front, and it backs onto an area where we can park the main truck. I think we've missed out on that, unfortunately. That was dirt cheap rent. I'll probably end up trying to do something like that. There's Tommy.
Yeah, hey Tommy, how are you? He's saying parenting is the hardest thing in the world.
Oh man,
no schooling or owner's manual for parenting. Absolutely.
And I'm conscious of the fact that there's a lot of younger crew in our group, and I don't want to put it off for them because I waited a long time to do it, and it is awesome and no pressure. Like not everyone has to have kids. There's definitely a lot of people in the world already. But if you did think you wanted to have kids, I don't want to give it a bad rap. It is really hard, but what you don't hear us complaining about or talking about is, when my little girl, when it's just her and I, and we're walking the park or something, and she says something crazy to me. I mean, it's priceless. It's better than it's better than anything that I do in my professional life. You can't put a dollar value on that,
No. And that's it. I'm sort of working towards maybe being able to stay home like semi full time in 5 or so years. That's my own goal, and we'll get to yours in just a second.
Be similar.
Interesting point here from Sam. Scaling requires thinking beyond being a solo operator. I really like this, and what are your thoughts on this? I guess we can skip to the next question.
Is she asked? Is that a question about scaling? Is that about scaling up?
Well, let's go with this first. So, what's your business goal? So, what are your goals for the end of this year? I guess whatever's left, heading into Q4, And then how are you looking to grow or not grow in the next 2, 5, 10 years if you're happy with how things are?
I'm a strange character, so this afternoon I decided that I wanted to be Stephen King. So I think I'm probably going to go into writing horror novels. But in all seriousness, I'd like to scale up. I would like, because I get so much stock, I would like to be able to do more with that stock. I know we're going to probably come to this later, but I wholesale a lot of it in order to cope with the volume. So I would like to get a premises like what we just looked at around the corner, where I can put someone on full time and see what that's like. I often think of my mechanic, my truck mechanic, who talks about the staff that he has and how the way he looks at it. He's really old school, this guy. He's like, when he hires a mechanic to work in his shop, and his shop is significant, he says that mechanic has got to make $80,000 or $100,000 worth of repairs a year for it to be worthwhile. And so I think, and I know you're a bit like that, Frank, the way you approach the financial side of things. So that's how I think about it. I'm like, how much does a staff member have to make for me in sales, essentially, for me to be able to make it viable? So, but I'd like to find out. So I guess the short answer is, at some point, I would definitely start to scale up and see what we can do, because I'm a dyed-in-the-wool salvage guy. I mean, I'm always drowning in secondhand gear. So,
I kind of think that's the only way, like, particularly for me. I'm my own worst roadblock, to be honest. Like, I know some of the stuff that I am selling I could probably get more money for, but just having that process to try and get it through a bit faster, frees me up to just do the stuff that I really want to do.
Yeah, I'm the same. Because that guy who I think that was my mate Tim before, he often gives me a hard time about how cheap I sell things, and he's probably right sometimes, definitely right a lot of the time. But my attitude is, I've got so much stuff coming in. I just need to, as Brad calls it, I need to turn and burn. I need to turn stuff quickly. I do try and get as much as I can, but it's also got to be relatively quick, and it's no good to me. So if you look at my shop, for example, I see a lot of people with 1,000 things in their shop or more, but I wonder how much. I'd like to see what the sale rate is, because for me, I have maybe a smaller shop. Like at the moment, I think I've only got, say, 250 items in my shop. But at any given time, I'll be 70% of it will be sold. So, and I look at other sellers, and I can see that they're putting a lot of stock in there. And I suppose, in a way, like, you put a lot of stock in your shop as a classic reseller, because you don't know necessarily what's going to work. I assume that that's what other people are doing. So for me, most of my stock that just sits there is me experimenting, because I just don't know. And it's great if you can stay in your lane. And by watching the reseller community and watching you guys and talking to people like you guys, it really helps to refine what you're trying to sell. But even so, even with all that information, especially if you see the random stuff that I see, you have to experiment a bit to see if it works, and oftentimes it doesn't.
So what are you doing? Are you doing anything in particular to prepare for Q4?
I'm kind of just in survival mode a bit at the moment, because Melbourne's in such a strange state at the moment.
I think it could be a really big fourth quarter this year.
I hope so, because our turnover is significantly impacted, and I hope so. I'm just gonna and I'm hoping the new payment system. I saw someone putting the mockers on it, saying that every time they make a change like this is a disaster period for like 1 to 3 months. Afterwards is all of listings disappear from the algorithm. And in my head, I think, man, I really wish they were rolling this out in 2021.
I'm glad they did it now and not, more towards Christmas time though.
Well, that's a good point.
Do it. Well, I had a look back the last couple of years, and August has been like one of my quieter months both years.
Yeah.
So I think things will definitely pick up heading into next month and onwards.
Because if June and July were anything to go by, as I said before, they were gangbusters for us. It just seemed like everyone. Yeah. Locking sales.
Kara's just saying it's great when you've just gone full time.
Yeah. Actually, Kara, I've got friends who just bought cafes before COVID hit, and you just sort of think, and there's a lot of stories out there. It's a bit like wartime, isn't it? I mean, think of all those people that just launched bricks and mortar businesses in the physical world.
Yeah. Kara's just saying eBay's being a slow bitch. It's been pretty slow for me the last few days as well, but it's just enough to keep me motivated.
So, I wanted to say this, and I know that most of you hardened sellers out there know this already, but I want to say it anyway. It's definitely true that if you list, stuff sells. And if you don't list, I don't know why that is. I don't know what happens. But if you're not listing, eBay, you lose favor or something. But something happens. So as soon as I back off the intensity, and I tend to go in cycles where I do nothing but list on eBay, I go crazy, and then I get good results, and I try and keep that going for as long as I can. But as soon as I take my foot off the pedal, as it were, which is the case right now, because of baby related stuff, I just haven't seemed to have the time. But as soon as I take my foot off the pedal, the sales slow down, and it doesn't matter. I've got great stuff in the shop right now, and it's just sitting there. So I don't know.
Yeah, the same thing. I sold a hat last night, signed by Greg Chappell. $50, paid 50 cents for it.
Yep.
But it's been sitting for a couple of years. I'm sort of trying to build.
How much have you got on that?
I sold it at $50.
Ah.
But it's sat for a long, long time. And I was talking to Brad about this the other day. I want to make $100 store where I've just got one store, everything in it's $100 or more, and that's like my long tail store for heading towards retirement. And then let the other store, like we were just talking about, is more like a fast turnover sort of store, and just butter items that sell all the time. Yeah. What's your sort of longer term goal for your store? Are you going to carry on doing salvage for the next 10 years?
I'd have to be honest and say I actually don't know the answer to that, and it's probably something that worries me a little bit. I love eBay. I love salvage, particularly obviously when it works. It's the best job I've ever had in that regard. I have ambitions in other fields, probably pipe dreams, but I don't know. I don't know the answer. Now that I've got a child, I have to obviously make more conservative decisions. So if I was going to stay in this game, again, it would be scaling. I would be trying to, I think it's Richard Branson says that if you're serious about business, the moves that you're making, you should be making to remove yourself from the business.
Yeah.
So that over time it runs without you, which is very much part of your philosophy, isn't it? So,
yeah, eventually I'd like to. I feel like I'm sort of stuck in between second and third gear at the moment. I'm entering a bit of a transition type phase where I'm trying to build out the capacity to really grow in the years ahead. I've rented the storage unit. I've sort of filled 3/4 of that up already. So I'm actually going to move into a bigger storage unit.
How big a unit did you get?
So I got a 3x3x3.
Yep.
And I'm going to move into a 3x7x3. So it's quite.
If you don't mind me asking, Frank, what are they charging you for that?
Not a lot. 140 a month.
You would see. I don't know if it's a East Coast thing, but you'd pay
I know.
Yeah, you pay over $200 here.
Yep. I think we are blessed over here with a lot of land, and there are quite a few storage facilities in my general area as well. So I think that helps a lot with keeping prices down. But I do actually realise that's a huge competitive advantage for me, rather than having stuff in my house. Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you, if you saw this, you'd be crying tears of blood if you saw this place around the corner that I think I've missed out on. It was literally 18,000 a year. It was 4 rooms, including a shop front and an area at the back where I could fit a big tipper truck. And it was, I think that works out to be about $346 a week. And I just was very slow off the mark on that one, unfortunately, because I don't think there's anything in Melbourne that's that cheap.
Yeah, I sort of think there'll be other opportunities for sure in the next.
You got to be positive,
months.
don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple. We'll flip back to the chat for a little bit.
I can't even see the chat. I don't even know if I've clicked it on.
Sam saying on the business, not in the business. Yeah. What else we got here? Matt saying he'd love to be like Despicable Me, a whole bunch of minions listing, photographing, and packing, and then just source and chill. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's the dream, isn't it?
So I was heading towards before, like I'm going to get the bigger storage unit and then start buying racking or find racking on Facebook Marketplace and have it all set up nicely. I've got some stuff from the early days, which are literally just like bunched together in some tubs. I know where they are, but they're not organised very well for some of them. So when I do sell something that's old, I might have to search through 5 different boxes. It's fine because I know what the boxes are, but it's still annoying. So
are you saying that when you were listing in the early days, you didn't have a SKU system or anything to know where it was going to be?
Not early. I did know where they were because they were all in the bookcase or something like that. I knew the area where they were, so it was easy to find.
Yeah.
And then once I've transitioned to tubs and getting stuff out of the house, I've just sort of gone, all right, everything goes in there and I'll deal with it later. Later comes around and it's proving to be annoying. But I guess in the years ahead, I'd like to be able to just maybe even have someone do the shipping for me,
Yeah.
If I can work it well enough like that, that would be the total end goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the American models obviously are inspirational for a lot of us sellers because, they can just do things. It's so muscular. The market's so big, and I take a lot of my cues from there still, even though obviously we're a much smaller marketplace. But I suppose back to your previous question, my dream would be to have someone doing everything else and I would be only sourcing and giving advice and just turning up to meetings, drinking a lot of coffee, listening to jazz.
That's the dream.
Driving my Tesla around.
Jazz is saying she'll have a hard time giving up control of pictures, listing, and packing.
Oh, Jazz, I think you could find a way. You guys are not far from the zenith now. I think you guys are very close to the peak of what 2 human beings can do.
I don't know how they do it.
Just quickly on that, I used to watch a lot of Chris 10K on the Bay. I think he's Daily Refinement now.
Yep.
And so I was lucky enough to find him when he didn't have many people watching him in the early days. And then he got very successful. And then I noticed now he talks a lot about the limit of what one reseller can do. And that's an interesting thing to think about, particularly with your penchant for looking at 5 and 10 year plans, because it's worth asking the question. Actually, Jazz and Brad are probably knocking on that door now. Really, like what do you do? You got to get help at some point.
Hire help.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there looking for work. It's hard though. Like you've got to find somebody you trust and train them and everything else. But I still have trouble with photos sometimes. Like they come back and they're not quite not quite right or
Yeah.
not quite up to the standard that I would expect to do it myself.
Yeah.
My family member did some drafts the other day, and he's just started getting into it, and he said, "Oh, I've done this many," and I'm just going, "Oh, it doesn't quite work." I've done the numbers in my head. I'm like, "Oh man, that's going to cost me a bit."
Yeah.
And then I had to check myself and go, "Yeah, but you've got 2, 3, 4 years already doing it. You know exactly what you're looking at. Of course
you're the boss as well. That's the other thing."
And then the very next day, he had doubled what he'd done the prior day. So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." But I think like setting those targets and expectations for anyone that you do hire is super important as well.
Well, just on that, because I manage a lot of sites, and something that someone said to me a couple of years ago, an older head, an older experienced builder guy, and he said to me, because I was bitching and moaning about my staff, and he was saying, "Listen, mate, you have to change your expectations of what you're going to get out of a hired staff member." And I've spent most of my life being hired staff, so I sort of thought I would be sympathetic to that perspective. How hard do you want to work for your $20 an hour or whatever,
Yeah.
But that he said it better than I'm saying it, and that did affect the way I look at it. So I've changed my expectation on that front of what I expect from my staff. I mean, obviously you try and train them to give you what you need, and also I try and look after my people, because I don't like the idea of taking advantage of people. And I remember being a wage earner myself, so I haven't forgotten what that felt like. But I think, it's really important to remember that if you're really invested in it, but they're not, they've got other things that they're emotionally invested in, and you have to remember that when you're using them, which is an ugly way of putting it, but not when you're using them, but when you're employing them, because it helps you lessen soften your expectations, so that you don't find yourself getting grumpy about things that you should expect a certain drop off from the levels of productivity that you might go for, being the master and commander, as it were.
Yeah, Sam's just said the same thing, that she had a VA, so a virtual assistant, for a while when she was still working, but so much quicker listing than she was able to do. And I think that's probably the same for all of us, but we are like literally, ingrained in what we do, because we've been doing it so long. Like, I had to really, it's probably, I want to say 30% like less productivity than what I'd be able to do, at least.
That sounds about right. I think, and if you can accept that it's going to be about 30% less good than what you would do, then you'll probably sleep better.
Yeah, no, I did, and that's the target that I set, and then ran the numbers. It still works, and it still gets me out of the way, which is the whole point.
And you can compensate. Once you know the limitations of what your people are going to do, you can build that into what you're doing, so you can compensate for the lack of that 30%. You can build things in to try and compensate for it.
Stay in your own lane. My dad's shed is filled with his plumbing gear, so I can't use it. Bedroom is filled with boxes of inventory, and the inventory is slowly spreading around the house. Yep. This is the retailer's curse, I think.
Hey, it's funny how much I say "stay in your own lane" at the moment when I'm talking to people, just as a phrase.
Yeah.
Particularly like when we're watching the news about COVID, and I'm like, some experts talking about something, and I'm like, shouldn't they be staying in their own lane on this? I mean, this is a big opinion they've got here.
Kara's saying she'll work for snacks, so I assume that has to do with chicken.
I had heard that, actually. And before the lockdown, I was going to offer Kara some donuts, actually, because we've got a good donut supplier. But
well, she's saying premium snacks only. I'm assuming donuts would fall.
Is that healthy snacks? Like,
yeah.
I can do protein shakes and stuff, if that'll help.
Although Matt's saying snacks are expensive, but
hey, I buy my people lunch, so
Yeah. We could talk about that, but we'll move on to this one. This is an interesting question for you. I asked this with Gary when I had him on as well. What's your reselling superpower? What do you do exceptionally well?
Shit. I actually saw this question in advance, so this is a Dorothy Dixon for me, but I still don't have a proper answer. I think all I can come up with is that I'm adaptable. I'm a generalist. So I'm a master of many trades. Is that right? No, I'm a jack of many trades, and I'm a master of few. No, I'm a generalist. Because of the sheer random collection of things that I see in my salvage hunting pursuits. I've had to become something of a generalist, which I suppose all true secondhand dealers, and if you look sort of pre-internet, where the original secondhand sellers were, I suppose they were all generalists too, because you sort of have to be, because you have to be able to turn whatever you can get your hands on.
So do you just follow the same pattern that you would with eBay? So if you come across something, you just look it up and try and find out what it is?
Yeah, I look it up, but I also run out of time to look things up. As you guys would know, looking things up on the fly in the field, in the wild, is time consuming, and particularly if I'm on a big job. So as a consequence, when we sell wholesale lots, we have sold a lot of stuff that would have been better for us to sell individually. For example, I sold a painting from a yoga studio clear out, and the guy actually got back in touch with me and he let me know that he sold it for $500. And obviously that stings a little bit, because I think we got less than 500 for the unit. But equally, I'm a bit philosophical about it now, because I'm like, well, I haven't got time to look up every single thing, and it was a dreadful painting. I mean, it was just awful. I know a little bit about art. I've got a little bit of background there, and this thing was awful. And so the fact that it was worth 500, well, God bless. I mean, good luck to him. And I said that to him. I said, well, look, that's what we're doing. I mean, we do try and put real value in our wholesale lots, because I think there's a bit of skepticism, because we're not like Storage Wars, where it's an abandoned unit where theoretically no one actually knows what's in there, and so theoretically there could be a Picasso in there. People are a bit skeptical that we'll have cherry picked all the good stuff out of there, but it's not actually true, because of the volume and the time restrictions that we're up against. We put some very good things in those units, and deliberately I see things that I know I could sell for more, but I want there to be some value in my unit so that I can make a bigger amount in that auction as a wholesaler.
Do you sort of, like, I went back through your Instagram yesterday just to have a bit of a refresh. Do you gravitate to smaller items as opposed to large ones, and leave the large ones for the units that you are on selling?
That's a good eye. You have a good eye. Yeah, well, that is very true. Over the last 18 months, I made a conscious decision to sell more smalls. I've got a Lightbox, which I should have had here really, so I could show you guys. But it just works really well for me to be able to sit at my desk and pop things in the Lightbox and shoot them and list them straight away on my phone.
Yeah.
There's that. So. And whereas when I started, I was selling fridges and washing machines and cupboards and elephants and anything that came my way. But the bigger things, although they can be worth reasonable amounts, there's also a lot of handling involved.
Yeah. And space. Space as well.
Yeah, space. There you go. So that was what did it. So over time, I was filling up all my available space with chairs and bits of furniture. I mean, I was really looking like an old school junk guy. I literally, my yard was full and overflowing, which it still is, by the way. I just made a conscious decision. As I became a better picker, as I became a better treasure hunter, I was better able to identify smaller items that were worth, I can get like that Montessori book. You'd have to think I'll get at least $50 for that book, but I might only get $50 for a washing machine. So why wouldn't I just scrap the washing machine and sell the book? And that's very much in a nutshell. So you really hit it on the head there with what you've seen, because I really thought smalls was a better way for me to be an eBayer.
Yeah. Just I'll go back to Brad's comment here. He's saying Denny shouts his work as lunch. Are you hiring, mate? He knows a guy that just lost his full-time job.
Where are you though? Are you here? Yeah, he is here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Vic for sure. Shout out to Zach as well, who's just jumped in.
Yeah, get in touch with me. We'll talk. It's pretty bad at the moment, but yeah, we can talk for sure.
Yeah, I saw Zach's post the other day about the finds he had in the collections, and saying that someone threw out some coins. I couldn't believe that.
That's right. I think I messaged Zach about that because I'm always finding little caches of coins like he showed there. I've never found big money. I think $600 is the best I've ever done. And I've got a policy where I split all the money finds with whoever's staffing that day. So I had 3 guys on that day, so that was a big split. But yeah, $600, and we've done that twice. But I've had lots of small coin finds where it's like $150 in coins.
Can't argue with that. That's still good money.
I'm guessing Zach had about $50 or $60 in that coin haul.
Tell us how much is in it, Zach, if you can. So if you like the last question, this one's going to bamboozle you even more. What's your reselling kryptonite? What are you working on?
I can do this. I reckon I'm a slow lister, and I don't know why that is. I was watching when Brad and Jazz, for example, got their computer game haul. I don't even think it was on one of their main videos, but I think Brad might have been a spanner in someone else's show, and he was just saying something in the chat. But he just dropped casually that Jazz had already listed 200 of these things, and I was like, Christ Almighty, what am I doing wrong? Like what? Why can't I list that fast? So that I don't know, and I've talked to Zach about this. I think last year briefly about why we're so much slower than everyone else. I try. Believe me, I don't mess around. It's important to me that I get as much stuff up as quickly as possible, particularly now. But it just seems like all the young bucks out there just list much faster than me.
Yeah, I know Kara's is probably a good benchmark for that too. I've asked her before, what sort of targets to look for. I think a lot depends on what you're actually listing as well. So obviously clothes will take 10 times longer than something like a DVD or a CD or things like that. And then again, if you're not quite sure, something's unique and you got to do a bit more research.
That's the killer. And I think that's what hurts me, because I rarely see the same thing twice. Obviously with DVDs and, my bread and butter items, I've got a lot faster at those. And if I'm down, so I have weekly targets, listing targets, and I have a monthly listing target. And I keep a logbook, which I find encouraging. It's encouraging. Even when you fall short, it's still encouraging to at least have those numbers. It's like a game that you play with yourself,
Yeah. You definitely need a target for sure.
I cheat a little bit, so if I'm behind, which I am at the moment, I will just sit there and list CDs and DVDs, and I've got a lot better at media out of necessity.
Yeah.
But I don't grind as much as some of our peers do. I generally look for a higher return on investment, so I tend to bulk sell the lower value media items and try and sell the higher return items, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart too. Like you getting the most bang for your time, really.
Well, because it's very tempting for me to get bogged down, and this has happened a lot, in listing whatever's nearby. And I might just look to my right now, and there might be a box of books here, and then I get a bit locked on. I get a bit autistic about, I'm just going to list everything that's in that box, no matter what, and that's my target. And meanwhile, there'll be this jacket behind me, Sorry, that side, it's reversed. I don't know if you've ever noticed.
That's a good example.
That's a good example, isn't it? I haven't listed that thing, and that's got to be at least an easy hunch right there.
Yeah.
But I'll faff around all day listing, $15 books.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Behind me in that cupboard, I've got about $1,000 worth of jackets that I still haven't listed yet, and there's probably about 5 of them, maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 that I just need to actually get out and do. And those are the stuff that I'm still not comfortable giving to the lady who takes the photographs, because it's a high value item, have to do it.
Right. See, now that's a different thing holding you back there. That's actually a legitimate block that you have to address. Whereas,
I know.
Whereas if your excuse is just, like me, that you're just spazzing out and listing what's near you because you're not thinking clearly about what you're trying to do here, then that's something I've had to work on. I actually think Drew said you should list your most valuable thing first as a policy.
Well,
and I forget to do that. That's a great policy.
Yeah. I will say that on the last batch that I did give to the lady, that I have chucked a couple of jackets that are worth over 100 and a bit. So far so good. She did a reasonable job on that.
Has she got a background in photography at all?
Not really. She just happens to live locally and it's got a decent phone.
And do you have a background in photography, Frank?
Sort of. My brother's a professional photographer.
The reason I ask is because I'm something of an amateur photographer, and I've had some exhibitions and stuff. And what I've learned over the years is there's some fundamentals with photography, particularly in the digital era, that people who don't take good photos don't understand. And you're a clever guy, so I'm sure that you're probably across this. But if you can just teach them the basics of composition and light, then their photos will usually improve quite a lot. Because I've taught some of my less talented family members. Actually, my wife probably takes as good a photos as I do now. She's not listening, is she? I think she's showing me some photos she's taking on her iPhone, whatever it is, 8 or whatever, and they're as good as anything that I take. So the rules of composition.
There's a question way back up the chat from Brad again. Do you sell your lots on iBid on storage? I've always wondered if a private seller was you.
So here's the thing, a bit of context for that. For some reason, I'm one of the few private sellers that sells on iBid in Victoria. Until recently, there's a few on there, but that's me. That's me, definitely. Has he ever bid? Where's my bids? You can even phone me and I'll tell you what's in there.
There you go, Brad. Nice little inside job.
I also sell elsewhere, though. I also do some offline deals now with people where we sell just directly to them. Because over time, I've made more contacts. So I sell what I can on iBid. We're not selling anything on there at the moment because we had concerns about the legality of, in lockdown, sending people out. I actually had a really good lot on there, and one guy bid, and then stage 4 kicked in, and I just rang the company and I said, can we just take this opening bid and pull the auction, because 2 days later it's going to go into stage 4, and that's what they did. So that was the last one that we did. So we're dormant at the moment. We're not doing anything.
That's sharp thinking, actually. It's good foresight.
Yeah, I got lucky on that.
Yeah. Question 6: ideas for future productivity, time hacks, business systems.
Well, I get a lot out of talking to you guys. That's been really valuable. So when the world normalizes again, touch wood, hopefully it does, it would be great. There was some talk about a footy meetup before the world went crazy. And so it would be good to sit down, because obviously this is great, but obviously sitting in person with someone is still the real juice for me. So it would be good to talk to more. I've got a couple of close mates who are sellers, so I get to talk to them a lot in person, and we compare notes. But that's really great, sharing your information in person. And I think maybe you're a bit more prepared to share some of your secret moves in person with someone that you're looking at, rather than broadcasting it. I know that there's, Brad and those guys, I know people are pretty generous with their information, and that's great. But, I noticed retro rescuers. They were saying they don't share all of their information, and it's not really controversial, is it? Because
No.
because there's. I'm going to paint myself as something of a bastard here now, but I'm about to lose my fan base. Watch this. But I'm pretty generous too. Like if someone contacts me, I'll tell them everything I know, but I probably don't broadcast it on social media. And that's just because I figure there's a ton of newbies out there, and this is going to sound awful, but I figure they've got to find their own way a little bit, the same as I did, and I don't want to necessarily fast track them to my honey hole, if you know what I mean. But by the same token, I'm not an asshole. So if someone asked me, for some help, I'd give it to them. I think I just really sidetracked myself there. What was the question again?
I think that's a good point. Like there's plenty of information out there that someone can take to learn whatever they want, but
yeah, I don't want to be up about it though, because
there's still that element of hard work that a lot of people think, oh, it's easy. I can find a cup and sell it for $30. It sounds good, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
I mean, I get people ringing my rubbish company who've watched Storage Wars, and for whatever reason, they think that our business is American Pickers. This, honestly, I'm not even making this up. This happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and this lovely young guy, I think he was a bit special, but he rang me and he wanted to volunteer work for us for nothing because he thought we were American Pickers. And I actually ended up putting him in touch with a charity that we service who run a food bank, and got him to get in touch with them about volunteering. But I get calls like that. It's a strange world that I live in, but I get calls like that all the time with people who I don't know what it is that they think we do. I suppose they think, like I did when I first saw it, that people are just getting paid to take treasure away, which sometimes that's true, but not always.
What about just heading back to business systems? Have you explored that at all? Like I'm always trying to upgrade.
I've been following your stuff and over the journey from the early days, and it makes me feel guilty because I would like to. I've been meaning to reach out to you actually about just hotkeying stuff. About just having stuff set up so that I can hotkey regularly reoccurring phrases that I use in listings. And it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? Like why would you type out local pickup available in Ivanhoe if you didn't have to?
Just on that, for the people who are actually here, here's a neat little tip that I actually picked up the other day, because in the early days I used the phone to list, and then they changed the app, and I thought the app was crap. So then I switched back to the PC with all the audio hotkey and everything else, and I still use that when I'm home and I've got things that have had photos taken. But now that I'm actually in the storage unit, I'm using the phone most of the time, or sell similar wherever I can. But obviously it's important to add as many item specifics as you can. Have a crack at using the dictation feature on your phone. You'll be surprised. You can one click, talk it, hit the button, and it's done. You can absolutely make your listing better than all your competitors in a very short amount of time, even using Sell Similar.
What phone are you using?
I've got an iPhone XR, which is one of the newer ones, but it should work on
like the Samsung. The Samsung's voice to text is not very good. Well, at least mine isn't. But I had a HTC before that, which was excellent, and you could talk in any sort of accent or slang, or you could be drunk or whatever, and it just knew what you were talking about. And so I was sending a lot of client texts when I was in the field and stuff, like long-winded stuff. I was just talking like a private detective, and it was pretty good. But I've stopped using it because Samsung's absolutely useless at it.
Yeah, you should definitely revisit that, because I think it's gotten a lot better in the last year or so. There's not many times I actually have to change it now.
I think the iPhone is definitely a bit more nimble at that stuff.
Some people talking about a meet up in Perth, which would be pretty cool as well. So I've caught up with Rob a couple of times in the last couple of months, which has been
Yeah,
good.
I saw that. Well,
It's been
my
a
mum.
bit of fun.
So when I get over there, I'm going to definitely come and hook up with you guys.
Oh yeah, and like you were saying, like I've learned a little bit from Rob and the brief time that we've been out as well, and I'd like to think he's learned something from me. And it's just that having that in person is so different from even like this. There's only so much you can sort of convey over the internet or a video or anything like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is great. This is really valuable, but and I think maybe particularly in the COVID world, we forget how valuable in-person contact is.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting back to business systems, if you want to catch up after this, I'm happy to help you. I've actually made a couple of invoice systems using Google Sheets in the last couple of months for people who don't
reading out invoices for your customers when they've bought something that you send with the item.
No, totally unrelated to reselling at all. Just these are like separate businesses who work in the construction space.
Yeah.
So yeah, using forms in Google Sheets, and it seems to be working pretty well. So if something like that might be useful for you, then I'm happy to give you a hand.
Yeah,
set it up.
I definitely need to dial into your hotkey stuff, and it's been on my list, for over a year and a half, I'd say, when I first started reading your blog, a couple of years ago or whatever. I was watching Storage Wars.
Wanted to fly kick the TV. Yeah, I thought the early days were all right, and over time it's sort of it's gone a little bit crazy.
It has its moments, but it's really funny. It's really funny. I was just mocking it today, actually, about and I do it on the truck sometimes when I'm like, oh yeah, there's a pair of glasses, that's $2 right there. There's there's a postcard, that's $5 right there. I'm like, yeah, but like when find the time to make all those sales,
Yeah, that's it. Jazz saying we've got the Easter Bilby here, Tommy. No joke. I'm guessing that's a little bit like drop bears.
Is that a chocolate Bilby?
Chocolate Bilby, yeah. Native version of the Easter Bunny. There you go. Kara's asking, can I hotkey my computer? Yes, you absolutely can. Yeah. I actually, early days, I started watching American Pickers. It's kind of what got me interested in, I guess, exploring it as a reseller. I've always been interested in old things and vintage things, but like I know it's like quite staged, but those guys have built a business out of doing something that they love, which is, sort of close to all of our hearts, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. I watch Drew Pritchard, who's a British industrial antiques expert, and he's got a show called Salvage Hunters, which I recommend.
Salvage Hunters,
and it isn't staged. That guy's legit. So it's probably become a bit show businessy now because it's so successful. Excuse me, in the UK, but you can see that. And I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes stuff on YouTube with those guys, and they give you a lot of tips on how. Actually, I wanted to say this to the group. Actually, they give a lot of tips on how to clean up your items, but particularly if you sell older vintage stuff, little tricks of the trade of how to dress up timber items. And I sell a lot of old tools. Actually, nice segue, but I found this week. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's an old
out fire or something,
Yeah, well, it's an old you'd use it to take paint off of things. It's like I don't know what the technical term for that is, but it's an old fire gun for there is a burner. There's a name for that I've gone blank for, but anyway, you can't see this because of how sort of dirty it is, but that's brass, and they sell a lot of these sell on eBay, unbelievably. But one thing I learned off him is there's a mixture that they use which will bring this back to shiny brass, and in this condition I could probably get $30 or $40 for this. But if I shine it up, then it opens up a whole new market of buyers who want it as a decorative piece only, not just tool collectors, because mainly tool collectors buy this stuff, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, Salvage Hunters, Drew Pritchard. I'm all by myself. Have I dropped out? Am I here by myself? Just me and my dinosaur. We're back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I'm back.
I was by myself.
Not actually sure what happened there, but anyway.
It's my dial-up internet.
We're already at an hour and 10. If anyone's got any last-minute questions, please fire them into the chat.
Thanks for having me anyway, if I don't get a chance. It's been awesome. And being in lockdown, I don't get to talk to enough people these days. So this is an excellent addition to my socialization, which is virtually non-existent.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm hoping that we're actually going to see some more content from you, particularly on Insta over the next few months, eh?
Well, you should talk to Cara. She's my manager. She's
okay.
Cara's the one that makes me do videos. So I'm aware that I've got a lot to offer in the video department. It's just finding the time when you're under time pressure on a big job. It's just finding the time to post that stuff and for it to not be sort of shithouse at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'll try. And if anybody wants me to come on their lives and talk endless shit about reselling, I'll do that too.
No, I'm sure you have a few takers there. Someone take
I will. I'll try and put more videos on Instagram. I'll try and keep them short and sweet because I think that's a good niche for me. If I can just film everything in one take or on a second take and just put it on Instagram, that as a return on investment, that works for me because I'm under time pressure. I can do that. Like you guys might have seen the stuff I posted from the last
you should bring the trash panda back.
The what?
The trash panda.
The trash. Well, damn. I actually had something organised to do. Not that he's gone. I put him in a locker, but
oh no.
But I've got something, but I'm not going to go get it. But I should have done it. I had a lobster, a rubbish lobster.
Brad saying, love to get you on again, Denny.
Oh, anytime, mate. I'm not sort of. I have to set up my mic and everything. I'm not. Long story short, but we had a flooding situation in our house, and so I've got no office at the moment. So that's why I'm sitting in the storeroom right now. But I'm happy to do it. If anyone wants me, particularly Brad and Jazz, I just need a little warning, then I'll be there.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching this later, feel free to chuck some comments in as well. Happy to answer any questions.
I think my mum is going to be watching this later. So hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum.
And she's in Perth.
Very good. Yes, we'll definitely have a Perth meetup when you get over here eventually.
I'll give you plenty of warning when I'm coming. When you guys open your borders again. When people will let Victorians travel to other parts of the country again. I think they're saying 2025 we should be able to travel to other parts of the country again. So when that happens, I'll give you the heads up, and we'll have to have a West Australian meetup.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Awesome.